I think it is a time where we are seeing a lot of continuing unrest. There's a lot of sort of, it's a time where we're seeing people sit in more polarizing areas, and there is less communication and there is less dialogue. And so in this overwhelm of hopelessness and despair, you use the word doom. I don't think that's too strong of a word. There is this sense of complete unrest. And I think not only is it happening in our age category, but it's also happening because our younger people are listening to our age talk about it, and or they're engaging in conversation around it. And when we talk about suicide prevention, we talk about hope. Like, we are in the business of helping people have hope. And we're at a place where hope feels really far away sometimes. Yeah. One of the first things that I say is that we have to just take a moment and just check ourselves. Like, we have to pay attention to how we are feeling and just take the pulse of, am I feeling depressed? Am I not engaging? And maybe we're not in a space to do that, so it might rely us doing that with someone else, a trusted person, to be able to have a conversation around, help me understand what's happening. You're not showing up the way that you normally do, or I've noticed that you seem to be pulling back more. Maybe it's, I've noticed that you seem to be out a lot and you're engaging in potential risky behaviors. We have to be able to have a safe person to have that conversation with. That becomes the starting point, but we also have to recognize, especially when we are dealing in a space where maybe our mental health is not at its best, that it might require us going back a couple times. This is not just a one and done easy conversation. These conversations sometimes take time. If it is a child, it's going to look a little bit different than it is with an adult. You've heard the age-old adage of, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, especially when we are dealing with mental illness within adults who have the capacity to say, no, I'm not interested in help. It's so challenging to be the support person on the other side and feel like you're running into a brick wall at every conversation, but also holding on and being, concerned for someone. And so we really have to think through how to have that conversation. Who is best to have that conversation? If I know that my relationship with someone is not at its best place right now, then maybe it's not me who sits down and has that conversation. Maybe I'm tagging in another family member where there is a stronger relationship, or maybe it is, one or two people, maybe it's a family friend. So we have to remember that going into conversations like a bull in a china closet is probably not going to yield great results. But we have to be able to be in for the long haul with these conversations, because sometimes it's a matter of circling back a time or two. I think when we're talking about, when we're reaching out to our community and our community is saying we feel the same way, there is a level of connection that happens there. And so it's about, what do you do with that connection? If you simply walk away and say, we're doomed, that's one way to do it. However, what would it look like if in a time and space of, we all agree, these are really difficult times and we are feeling the same way, we don't feel a lot of hope. What if you took this step, the next question to be, how can we affect hope right here in our community? Or how can we affect hope as a group? Because sometimes what we see is that I might not be able to change the country, I might not be able to change the region that I'm living in, but maybe, just maybe, we can find hope and kindness. Because Dave, at the heart of all of this, it's humanity, right? We have to get back to humanity. So in times where we don't see hope or we don't feel hope, what can we do to help engineer a situation where we can say, in the midst of not feeling really hopeful about what's happening right now, I made a difference today. We can pull from our own histories of how we've gotten through struggles before. The situation may be different, but the feeling of hopelessness or the feeling of it can't get any worse than this, we've experienced that before. For some people who may not have had horribly traumatic childhoods, or people who have not really experienced this, think back to COVID. In these times where there was such unrest, there was such unknown, We don't have to dig back into deep areas of despair to know what it feels like to feel uncertain, to feel like there's not a plan in sight, to feel like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. We've gone through this before. You know, it comes with illness within our families. It comes with maybe the passing of a loved one. So tapping into what we already know and trusting our gut is really important in these times. And remembering, and I know this is such a cliche thing, but kindness is free. And when we do for others, and when we can do for others for the right reasons of just simply saying, good morning. You know, you might be that good morning that someone needed because maybe they're going through something. And we talked about it during COVID, being kind to the checkout clerk, being kind to the people on the street, knocking on your neighbor's door and saying, here's a pie, for no reason other than because baking gives you joy. We have to think about the things that bring us joy so we can share that out.